You're listening to A Seat at the Tech Table, a podcast by Sisters in Tech, hosted by Anna and Esther Kofariji. This podcast highlights the experiences of Black women working and thriving in the tech industry. You'll learn about how they found their paths into tech, and hopefully you'll be inspired to consider whether there's a seat for you at the tech table.
Today's guest is Kelsey Robb, a London-based creator partnerships manager.
Hi, Kelsey.
I love that start. It's so strong. Hello, girls. How are you? How are you both?
We are good. Thank you so much for joining us at A Seat at the Tech Table. We'll get straight into it. We just want to know a little bit about you. So please tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm one of the creative partnerships managers at TikTok UK. I've been there for about 10 months, I want to say. I think it's been quick and slow at the same time. And what is it that I do is I manage many of our sort of UK creators in the news, activism and education spaces. So very, very exciting work.
Okay. So before we get into the details about your journey, we really want to get to know a little bit about you. So just tell us a little bit about your interests growing up and like your interests in and outside of tech. Well, more so outside of tech.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm a little bit in a hot seat. Like I have to call my life or something. Like this is your life.
We just want to get to know you. We just want to get to know you. So yeah.
Okay, as long as you both don't bring out like one of my old English teachers or something like that, I don't think I'd be able to take that. But I suppose a little bit about me. So I grew up in Luton as very much an only child with two Jamaican parents who were very eager to instill culture and opportunity into me. So growing up, it was a lot of trying to find my thing. They were very encouraging about me having different hobbies and interests. I tried sports. Sports didn't like me, but I tried. And it was just one of those about trying to find kind of my niches and what I like to explore. So I did everything from miniature bookmaking to tennis to netball to just anything that I could try that I told my parents, like, let me have a bit of an explore. They were happy and able to offer me. So I'm very grateful for them for giving me that kind of mindset from an early days, because I think it's one of those that I like to be good at what I do, but I also don't mind trying things that are very different because I've done it since I was young. So I think when it comes to hobbies, it was always one of those that it was about just kind of exploring different things. Even did hiking at one point, which I can't again say that I enjoyed, but at the same time, I think it's just one of those that it got me outdoors. It got me speaking to people I might not normally sort of talk to or associate with, and working with them as a team to make sure that we're not getting lost in the wilderness. So even things like that, I'm incredibly grateful for, because it gave me a little bit more of that chance and that freedom to see if there was something new that I really loved. And I think there are a couple of things that I still do, like everything from the museum visits and art galleries and things. That is very much something I still love and I still explore. I still do a lot of new hobbies. I even took up hula hooping in the lockdown, and that hasn't gone away yet. And I'm doing all these different stunts and trying different things out in the park, and occasionally getting people stare at me, so I just get even worse. But just that idea of being able to just kind of move around and try something new, I just really love.
Awesome. Like, it sounds like you've got quite a few interests, and it sounds like you had an opportunity to kind of explore and tap into quite a few things growing up. Out of all of these things that, like, you mentioned, or just anything that you recall, is there anything that really stood out to you kind of as you were growing up and as you were kind of finding your feet in terms of the things that you did like?
I'd say there were a couple of things. I think that level of being creative, of doing something with your hands and drawing or designing or creative writing, I still, though I don't really show anyone, but I'm still like write little short stories or little poems down, or I find a person on the train that I think is a little bit interesting and I might make up a little story in my head about what they're doing and where they're going. I think that kind of imaginative side, and just being a little bit childish with it and being encouraged to be a bit childish is something that had a really lasting impact on me, and I think has really shaped me to still ask stupid questions and still try and see if I can do something a little bit off the wall or a bit crazy, because it's just like keeping that creativity and that imagination going. And even like I said, with making miniature books and short stories, those types of just trying new formats and new styles, that doesn't go away. Like, it still means that even with work or outside of work, I'm thinking of how can we shift this, or how can we pivot, or how can we make it more fun or more entertaining. And being offered that opportunity at an early age is probably why I do it now. So if my mum is watching this, thanks mum, because I think that was something that just really helped me.
Amazing stuff. Okay, so kind of transitioning on a little bit, you went on to university to study marketing. So I'd love to know kind of what informed that decision, and how did you find it?
Well, I was at sixth form, and it was very much one of those, okay, you know, what are you thinking in terms of next steps and what you're doing? And the conversation at home was university. You can choose what, but that's your option. I was like, okay, thanks. So I probably knew I was going to go into the side of business. My parents are very kind of entrepreneurial. I've kind of grown up with people who are very interested in exploring new activities and options. So I was like, business is me. I want that kind of negotiation and stakeholder management, and everyone keeps saying I'll be in business. So let's go with it. But I wasn't sure if I should generalize and go for just a business degree, or if I wanted to specialize. And it was actually, I think, one of my teachers that sort of said, well, you know, you're always talking about brands and adverts, and have you thought about maybe marketing or even a niche of advertising? And the more I read into the concept, the more I was like, this combines that level of creativity and business and analytics and design. It combines it all at once, and you're being able to craft this message out to the world that you're hoping will move people and will change their whole perception of things. And I was like, that is great. That is me being able to combine so many different things of what I love, and that level of kind of creativity and passion with that level of business acumen, that I was like, okay, that's it. I've chosen my subject. Where I do it, I have no clue, but I've chosen the subject I wanted to study. And I think when I went to all these different open days, because as my mum knows, she drove me to 10, 11 different university open days. Like, it was a whole road trip. I don't know how we didn't split up in terms of like being friends, because it was hours of being together. I would go to a uni. It was like 4 hours away. I'd step two feet in the door, and I'd look at her and I'd go, nah, I don't like it. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. But I got to a point that we traveled up to Lancaster, and they were talking about the flexibility of their course and how I could lean a lot into the design side and lean a lot into advertising and almost just build that degree. And again, it was just like that click moment. I had that moment that I was standing there on campus. I even know the spot that I was standing, that I just went, okay, I want to be here. And one of the things that not many people do know is, sadly, Lancaster didn't want me at that point in time. I didn't do very well in terms of my studies. I bombed, to tell you the truth. So it was very much one of those that I went, I still want to be at this university and I still want to study this degree. So even if it takes me a whole extra year, I take that time out, I do something new, I retake my A-levels, but I'm going there. So that is what I ended up doing. I took a whole year out to just, I'd love to say find myself, but it's too cliche, so let's put that aside. But I took that whole year to just discover what I really liked about the course, about just strengthening my CV, doing odd jobs or internships. I even tried a stint at starting my own business just to see if there were different things that I could really apply that marketing acumen ahead of time to really make myself shine for my next attempt at getting in. So that is what I did, and I'm very lucky that it paid off, because if it didn't, I don't know, I would have had a whole crisis at that age. But that was my chance to really make sure, and I knew then, the moment that I started on that day one, I was determined for this, because I'd taken a whole extra year to make sure that this was still the place I wanted to go for it. So it was a bit of a journey, and I have to say there was a lot of factors of people and places and things that just kind of made me go, this has clicked. But the moment you get that feeling, that gut instinct that's just like, this feels right, I follow that. And I don't think it is put me down the wrong path yet. So I think that was one that I really listened to, and I'm really glad that I did.
That's amazing. I think it's so nice to hear you kind of being so intentional, even at that age, about kind of what you're doing and kind of where you're going. So studying marketing, this is a question I have, because I hear it a lot that with the art, marketing and advertising, the academic studies are kind of sometimes behind what's actually happening in the real world. So I'd love to know kind of your experience of, like, do you feel like you were well prepared for marketing for the now, or were you learning kind of theory that was foundational still for what you were going to do?
To be honest, I think it definitely leaned towards that theory and that foundation. It was one that I kind of started, and I wanted all of that real world experience and everything just yet. But at the same time, sometimes those theories still pop up. They popped up in my old job. They still pop up in my new one. So I think whilst I wouldn't say I resented it, but whilst I didn't quite understand why I was learning some of these things at the time, now I'm actually glad that I did, and I remember them, because some of that terminology or just that theory and the way that it's applied still works to this day. Now, it's a very fast-moving place, just marketing as a whole. So I think it is one of those that the moment you are learning something, it's going to be a little bit outdated already, because new technologies and processes and people come along and just change the space. But at the same time, I think what really helped me is I was always trying to make sure I was getting internships throughout my degree. I think it's something I leaned into maybe sometimes a little bit too much, and the grades started to slip as a result. But it definitely helped me in terms of, one, reaffirming that this is what I wanted to do going outside of uni and looking at those next steps. But two, it also had me kind of thinking, okay, yes, I'm having to learn all this theory, but is there anything that is really applicable? Or am I able to bring back things from my internship that really supplement the theory, and means that when I am speaking in my essays or in a presentation, I'm able to kind of bring the best of both worlds at the same time. So whilst I think it is still quite theory-based and there's practical elements coming through, I'm seeing that more often, it was really that real-world experience that I was getting in things like my half-terms and Easter terms that was helping me understand the impact of marketing.
Yeah. Now, I think that's such a good explanation of, like, the power and the value of internships, because I think people are different, and some people are, like, very academic. They love being in the library and reading those books, while other people would love it if a degree didn't involve a single book and kind of were out there in the real world. But I think academic studies that include that real world aspects are really, really good, because they do prepare you, and they do kind of give you, as you say, that perspective on the things that you're learning that you can apply in the real world.
Yeah, and I think there's advantages to both, right? Like, you'll have people that will really lean into academia, and some of those breakthroughs do end up being things that people will use. And equally, someone with real world experience and working with so many different brands and agencies can stumble across something new as well. I think both of them have their advantages. I think both wouldn't be where they are without each other. I knew a lot of my lecturers would kind of be part-time lecturers, and they'd actually be consultants at a lot of these brands or agencies as well. So I think it's one of those that I can't say I loved all the studying, but at the same time, it still did help me. I don't think I could say that I've got to where I am without some of that work.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, so just really quickly, So we speak about different disciplines and different roles as if everybody understands what we're talking about.
True.
So we'd love you, from your perspective, to define what is marketing. Like, give us the pitch.
Wow, you both have put me on the spot, haven't you? Oh my gosh. Oh my God, I feel like I should have asked for the questions in advance. Oh my gosh. I guess from my perspective, it's weird because I'm not quite in this space in the same way that I used to be in the sort of advertising realm, but marketing it encompasses advertising. It's like a plethora of all these different activities that essentially you will do in order to persuade or promote or advocate for you to do something with a product or a service. So, everything from being able to find that audience and craft this message till you get to a point that it resonates with them. And because it resonates with them, they complete an action. And once you've done that action, you've changed someone's behavior. And I think that's the magic of it. And I think sometimes it gets a little bit of a bad rep. People are like, it's a bit of a negative psychology. It gets people buying things that they don't need nor want. But then at the same time, it can generate awareness and it can generate change. And you can change entire consumer attitude and change attitudes of these people for the better. So again, two sides to every coin. But I think just the fact that you could craft something that has someone that you've never met before in your entire life changing something else in their life, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's powerful. Yeah.
It is. It's very powerful.
Thank you. I think that was an excellent
Lovely. I love it. Yes.
It's a top marks.
Well, thank you. I was going to say top marks, like any of my lecturers that are still watching. See, you need to invite me back or something because I know my stuff.
Love it. Okay, so moving on a little. If I'm reading it correctly, your first job out of university was at Google. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd love you to give us that insight into. I imagine maybe you weren't necessarily doing marketing in order to get a job in a tech firm. So how did you kind of make that bridge into tech?
A little bit unexpected, to be honest, because I initially was very much like, at that time, I was part of an advertising society. I knew that was the branch of marketing that I really wanted to get into, that specific space of that creative strategy that I was talking about a little bit before. So I knew that was where I was going. And it's like, okay, ad agency, researching all the big ad agencies and conglomerates and the WPPs of the world and the Havasses and just looking and seeing, okay, this is where I want to be. What are some of the roles that they have? What are some of the grad positions that they do? What am I likely to really like from the get-go? And that was where a lot of my effort was going. That was where a lot of my internships were as well. So that is what I thought. And then Google kind of popped up on my radar, and it did because I think I was turning around to my society and sort of talking to them, and I was like, I want the sexy companies on campus. I want the companies that all the students want to see and they want to go to. And Google was one of the first names that popped up. It was like everyone talks about it. They talked about the benefits. They talked about the office culture. And it didn't just pop up in terms of maybe organizing a talk with them or seeing if we could do something as a society. It also popped up on my radar in terms of my own career journey, because if we're talking advertising, you can't have that conversation without Google, one of the biggest search engines on the planet, 7 products with over 1 billion users. Like it's huge. It's part of culture. So I started doing some research in both sides, both for things in terms of what we could do as a society, but also what I might be able to do there. And there were a couple of things that were on my radar. They had several programs that they were doing for Black students in particular to kind of get them interested in the world of tech, which I applied and got into. But then also from a lot of my research and reaching out to people on LinkedIn and just being like, hi, I'm a preppy little student. I'd love to hear about your experiences. After kind of getting some of those insights, I was like, okay, tech might actually be really good for me in terms of just that people culture and that office culture but also the fact that I'd be able to do advertising on such a scale that I wouldn't even think was accessible to me kind of coming straight out of uni. So I think just that chance to do something so impactful from day one piqued my interest. It definitely did. And I dabbled a little bit with Google when I'd started my business, and I was looking at different advertising avenues. And I was like, I'd love to take that and then just times it by 1,000 and just see what it's like to be working with small and medium businesses and going, okay, what are we going to do to 10x revenue, and what are we going to do to launch this product, and how are we going to make you more efficient in terms of your marketing and your marketing spend. So I think once it piqued my interest, it wasn't going to go away, and it was very much about how I get in. So I did apply. It was a long process. It's a hard process, to be honest, to juggle whilst you're doing your uni work. I think at one point with one of my courses, I went to one of my lecturers and just went, I'm going to get a D or below. And he was a bit like, why? And I went, because I've got 2 interviews coming up for Google, and I'm sorry, it's going to take all my time. And I made that decision to kind of deliberately fail that particular part of that course, because I was like, I need to focus on this. I need to do my research. I need to know the ins and outs of their products. And I'm not going to be able to split myself, because if I do, it's going to be a half-hearted attempt. So I think that's when I made the conscious effort to kind of put my eggs in that basket and really make a move into tech.
I think I just want to kind of hone in on what you, that thing you were just saying about you made a conscious decision and you said, I'm going to put my focus here and I know this other thing is going to suffer. And I think that's a really kind of mature attitude, because I think so many of us try to do it all. As in, we would try to get kind of that good grades and try to do internship, probably try and do a bunch of other things. So yeah, that's a really interesting ability to just focus down on what you think is important, what you prioritize.
But then I actually think it's about sort of focusing at a particular moment in time. Like I knew, for instance, that with that course, there was X amount of exams and essays that were also coming up that I could make my grade up with. But I then knew if I failed that part of that interview, like, I mean, I could apply again, but I don't know if I'm going to get that opportunity. I know with almost 100% certainty that I can, in a couple of months' time, really drill down and make that course work and bring it back. But I didn't know that with Google. And I think that's one of the things you've always got to be thinking about is, if I'm dedicating my time to this, what is the potential payoff? And if the potential payoff is something that I see as worthwhile, what do I therefore need to reduce or decrease so that I can make sure I'm going to realize that payoff? And I think it was something that some people thought I was a little bit crazy for. But at the same time, if you look at it like, and you can apply that to anything. I do it with the projects that I'm working on now and some of the creative support and work I do, where you have to go, well, how do I prioritize this? How do I really think about my time management? And if that is the case, I can't do everything. I wish I could. Yeah. I definitely at points in my life thought I could, and I definitely suffered the ramifications as a result of that. But now I think, like you said, it's a little bit about being a bit more intentional in how I choose things and how I do things. And I think that was probably one of the, I wouldn't say one of the first, but it was one of the moments that I remember quite early on about me being a bit more like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really try for this.
Cool. Okay. So you then went on to work as an account strategist at Google. Can you just tell us what exactly you did in that role?
Yeah, so essentially it was me coming in all preppy and happy-go-lucky, fresh out of uni, and essentially being kind of working with a bunch of small and medium businesses and helping them when it comes to their marketing strategy. So at any one time, you could be talking to a sole trader, you could be talking to someone that's got 50 or 60 employees, and it would be about finding out their business, what makes them tick, how they operate, and how Google fits into their marketing strategies. So it could be everything from really helping them to upskill on new products and services that we had, or being able to kind of reimagine what they're doing with their marketing spend. So a lot of kind of negotiation and education sessions and just general, real questions where you can kind of deep dive and find out more about what makes someone tick and what makes that business tick. So it was very good in terms of task and time management, because you're having to juggle all of these people with a lot of different priorities and kind of seeing what works for you as well. But I really liked that kind of advisory marketing consultancy side that it had, because I think that linked a lot to obviously what I was doing in uni and what I was trying to work towards as well. So it was one of those that I think straight out, like, it has its advantages and disadvantages, but I think straight out of uni, it was just great with being able to get that practical side of some of the stuff that I was learning about for so long.
Okay, cool. So you are now currently a creator partnership manager at TikTok. Could you just tell us about your current role and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Oh my gosh, my day-to-day. I wish I knew what I did on my day-to-day basis, because I think it would help me sometimes with trying to work out what I need to do. But I suppose as a creative partnerships manager, your role very much encompasses kind of supporting and helping a fabulous, amazing bunch of creators to kind of grow and realize their opportunities on platforms, so on TikTok and off platform. And then in terms of, I suppose, what that encompasses in a day-to-day, my job can be really different. I could be running around because we've just launched an out-of-home campaign and I'm getting different creators to different spaces to make content around them being on billboards for the first time. Or it might be that I'm sitting down with a creator one-to-one and we're really deep diving how they're currently working on their content and their content strategy and what are their milestones and how they're going to achieve them. So I think it's quite a juggle. You've got that creator side, and then I've also got that company side of how creators fit into that wider ecosystem, because obviously creators are at the heart of what we do. There's no TikTok without creators. It's what is the lifeblood of those communities, that imagination, that creativity is what makes us thrive. So it's all about a kind of help us help you. What can we do to kind of make you feel more empowered or make you feel better, or take that feedback and make sure that we're kind of integrating that into what we do. So lots of different spinning plates and lots of different aspects to my role. But I think essentially it just boils down to really helping these creators shine. Yeah. And I love it.
Oh, good. I was going to ask, like, you obviously, this is a fairly new role for you. As you mentioned, you've been in that role for like 9 to 10 months. But I just wonder, like, what essentially made you gravitate to this role? And how do you, what made you gravitate to this role? And what specifically stood out for you in this role?
Oh, I love that question. So I think I was looking for a role that still combined a lot of the things that I loved. So the stakeholder management, the negotiation, the walking into a room and having to deliver a presentation to 50 people, and again, convincing them to really make some tangible actions off the back of it. I think all of those parts of my role I really liked. But what I really wanted to lean into was that inclusive community side. Like, I did a lot of work at Google that wasn't just my role or role related, but was working with employee resource groups or our diversity and inclusion team on the wider Google. Like, what can we do internally for some of these marginalized and very underrepresented communities, and how can we help them shine, and how can we build that awareness, and how can we kind of be driving for that equity. And I wanted to take that part of my role and actually combine it with something I'm getting paid for. So when I realized that there was a space that I could actually do that, it got me really excited. I mean, I knew it was going to be quite a big job pivot for me. So it was going to be quite an uphill learning curve, quite a sharp one. And it was. But at the same time, the fact that I'm able to kind of be in this space, and I've worked on everything from Black History Month to COP26, and again that advocating for awareness and for action. I feel like this role has combined both of those, and that is one of the things I think I really do love about it.
I really loved that as well, because I think that's kind of it's the dream. It's something that combines maybe several interests or several kind of aspects of your life into something that you get paid for is like, is the best.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
It's that creativity and that drive and that passion to create change and all of those things, like to find that was in a role. I knew that's what I wanted, at least, for the now and for what I know is my interests and what I want to do. This is what spoke to that. And even though it was going to be quite a shift in terms of me kind of pivoting out of that advertising space and out of that marketing realm that I was in, I still really wanted it because, again, it leans into, I know everyone loves to say transferable skills, but it really did lean into that. It leans into some of the things I still loved about some of my older roles, but then gave me this chance to kind of learn and upskill in a space that I found really exciting and really creative. And when I was saying a bit about finding different hobbies and passions, well, I speak to people that have different hobbies and passions every day. I have to understand their world. I need to understand that passion. So I even think just some of those little small childhood antics and bits and pieces, like younger Kelsey would probably be looking and be like, okay, not bad. So I think it's just one of those that it's been really helpful for that.
Okay, so you clearly love your job and you clearly love what you do day to day. I'm just quite intrigued. So you've obviously gone from one major tech organization to another. I'm quite intrigued to kind of understand what the workplace culture is like, and just kind of your experience of working in both.
Yes, well, I'd say there's one thing to be working in tech. It's another to be working in tech as a Black woman. Like, I'm going to put that out there right now. Let's be real. I can't say all my experiences have been positive because they haven't. There's wider issues in society that I don't think, even when you're trying to make yourself the best office culture in the world, you're going to eradicate because they happen on a global scale. So I think some of those things, those microaggressions and those moments, they're going to still bubble up. They're still going to be there, and it's going to be how you, unfortunately, have to kind of navigate those. But then at the same time, some of the experiences I've had in tech in terms of freedom and creativity and being able to talk to some of the smartest, most interesting people I've ever met and form whole new connections with them, both professionally and personally. Like, some of these people are some of my closest friends, but they're also the people that will go, I've got this business idea, let's sit down and see if we can make it happen. Or, oh, you've got this problem at work. Well, I know you can't tell me the details, but let's talk top level and see how I might be able to help you. Like, just being able to have those synergies in terms of, leaning into each other and exploring different things. I think that is one of the things I found so exciting. Like, you bump into someone, be it at TikTok or at Google, and not only you would learn about the role, but all of a sudden you're sitting down and you're kind of working out how you can help each other and what you can do. And I think that is one of the things, that kind of open office culture is the thing I kind of leaned into the most about it. And also, like, if I'm going to be very honest, some of the benefits and the things that you're able to try, like I've been able to travel to New York, and I saw my family that I haven't seen in over a decade because I had a conference there. And just knowing that personally I was able to see them, but professionally I was able to see a whole new part of the world that I'd never seen before or never accessed before, or even just some of those things in terms of the learnings and the training that you do. Like, these places put so much into you as an individual to make sure that you've got the resources that you need and the tools, and that your feedback is being valued. But I think that is one of the things I just loved. Is it meant I'm always exploring. I'm always trying something new. I've done my work, and then I've done a bungee into a completely different job for 3 months just to be able to see what it's like. And you don't get that everywhere. You can't just turn around and be like, I want to do something new for 3 months, but can you hold my job so I can come back to it? Like, that's not a thing. So I think just being able to have access to like little benefits, and not even little, but just huge benefits like that, meant that you've got that freedom and that scope. And I think that is one of the best parts to it, to be honest. So I think it's, advantages and disadvantages, but I think once I've been in tech, there's a reason 4 or 5 years later, I'm still here because I think it's one that the communities that have been made, like especially at TikTok, some of the communities that I'm a part of have completely enriched my life. They have. And I lean on these people for so many more aspects other than just my role. And that is something that I just think is really special.
Amazing stuff. And I want to actually dig in a bit more into your role. I mean, the creator economy is like the word on everyone's lips, and everyone is talking about creators. Every tech company wants to support creators. So I'd love just to kind of dig a bit deeper, just understand kind of your work, creators you work with, what are they like, what are your kind of interactions like? And
what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's why I call them just creative and amazing people, because they are changing the world, and they are pushing for legislation, and they are training to be diversity consultants, and they are going out there and they're making a difference, and I get to help amplify that, and I feel so grateful that is the role that I get to play in their lives. I'm very grateful for that. So I'd say some of them are, all of them, they all have kind of different niches and different ways that they interact with their own communities. And what I love about kind of the role and what I do is I'm looking at what I can do to kind of amplify that and give them a bigger platform for it. So every time I hear about a creator success, or they've landed some kind of book deal, or they're in a show, or they're doing something to kind of help drive that awareness, I'm just so proud. I say it all the time, but I feel a little bit like I shouldn't even say it. I don't even know if I should, but I feel like Kris Jenner. Is that bad? But you know, when she's there, like, you could go see, or you see her with the little camera, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I do genuinely have that reaction. I'm just there like, I remember when you were on this amount of followers, and look at you now. I remember when we were talking about you exploring that, and now you're interviewing celebrities. Like those kind of moments that you see them grow is such a good give back. It's such a great part of what I do. So I think oh gosh, the fact that I've likened myself to that, I can see so many people around me like, really? If you both make a meme out of this, I will never forgive you. But it's generally the bit that pride just drives me. It definitely drives me. I even found out, and I know that they won't mind because I won't mention the name, but they'll know who they are. And I found out like one of the creators I work with got into Cambridge today. And I know how hard she has been working for that. And just the fact that you see what they're doing and the kind of education they're getting and what they're trying to do to shape the world. And even if I am a 1% part of that journey, I'm part of that journey. And I'm going to be there for it. So it's that is the bit that I think really does put a smile on my face.
It just sounds like very rewarding, just to be part of some journey. It sounds really, really interesting. Very intrigued.
My next question, this might be of interest to some of the listeners who are creators themselves. I imagine it's not every creator on a platform who kind of gets to engage with a creator partnerships manager. So what is like the criteria? Like, how do you pick the creators that you work with?
I'm sorry to both of you, and I'm sorry to any listeners, because that is definitely not something I could dive into in that kind of level of eager-eyed depth. But what I definitely can say is it shouldn't be a goal. It shouldn't be something that you're like, how can I get to you, or how can I reach you? What you should focus on is, what am I doing? What is my niche? How am I reaching this community in such a unique and interesting way that people are looking up and they're looking to see what I'm doing? I think that is one of the things that it's so much of a, how can I go viral, or how can I reach X amount of followers? And I'm always like, that shouldn't be the mission. I mean, it could be a milestone. It can be part of that journey, but it shouldn't be the mission. The mission should be the content itself. It should be the quality of the content itself, and what you're doing to cut through the noise of other people, so that, you know, people look up and they're like, I want to follow you. I don't want to follow you for follow's sake. I want to follow you because I'm interested in what you're saying or the resources you're providing or what you're doing, even if it is that it makes me laugh or cry or think, but it makes me do something and I want to lean more into that. And I think sometimes people kind of get lost in the source, as it were, and they get so kind of caught up on that side of things that they forget about why it is that people love them and why it is that people love what they're sharing with the world. And I always kind of try to say to people, try and focus on that. Don't focus on, okay, I need this to happen or I need this person to work with me. Focus on that. What are you doing so that you get to a point that that person you want to work with is reaching out to you? Like try and give yourself that framework. And then hopefully by building that, you're starting to then reap the rewards of it. But it does take a lot of trial and effort. It's going to take a lot of momentum on your side. That's going to be a longer journey. But if it is one that you're doing something that you love and you're making that space, hopefully it's a very rewarding one.
Yeah. No, I think it's so essential that you said that, because I think like we have a lot of words. So we have creator, we have influencer, we have celebrity. But I think it's interesting that we've kind of gone from like celebrities, A-list, B-list, and all of those to this concept of a creator. And I hope that it is encouraging for creators, because you're not here to be watched, you're here to create. And I think to be honest, I'm a creator myself. And one of the kind of mindsets that I try to develop is the things I create, I would create if no one was watching. If something I do and I put out there is not adopted by anyone, it's something that I believe should exist in the world, and that is creativity.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, please, I've got the clips going, because it's one of those, like, what do you want to put out there in the world? What's the legacy that you want to give and what you want to drive? And so I think that is one of the things I love about everyone can be a creator. Everyone can get out a phone or get in front of some piece of technology and see what they can do and just try because you never know what resonates. I think that's the beauty of just being in this kind of realm in general, is sometimes it's the video that people don't expect, or the video that they go, it was a bit of a half-hearted thing on a 9 p.m. on a Friday evening. And it strikes a chord with people. It does. It makes them laugh, or it makes them do something. And again, it comes back to that, making that action, doing something that means that someone looks at that and goes, I'm now going to do this, or I'm now going to share it in my family WhatsApp group, or whatever it is. I think those are the moments that I think people just don't think about enough, or they overanalyze, is just how it has that level of resonance. And not everything will. You'll put out something and you'll think that this was the absolute, I don't even know if I can swear, but this is the absolute sugar honey iced tea. And, you put it out there and it doesn't quite get that receivership that you want. Fine, reiterate, see if it's the delivery, see if it's the format, but reiterate and try something else. Don't get so hung up on that one particular piece. Just constantly look at what you can do to try.
Yeah, 100%.
Love it. These are words of wisdom for us, just dropping gems. Okay, so earlier you mentioned having the opportunity to kind of go to a conference, like a tech conference, and also kind of visit family. And I think it's so important that we're able to kind of have that balance in terms of our own personal and professional life. So, like, could you just speak more on kind of how you manage your personal and professional life?
Okay. I'm going to be real. Mm-hmm. I don't always manage it. I don't. I find one will bleed into the other, and I'm too focused on one and not the other. And finding that balance has always been a struggle, because you want to give your all to work. And I think it's like I was saying before about having a particular time period and going, what do I need to prioritize? Well, sometimes I don't always get that right. Sometimes I will be so focused on family that I'm a bit like, okay, what do I need to think about with work? Or there will be times when I have multiple work streams on the go, and it means I'm not picking up those calls from my mum in the same way that I should. But I think it's just one of those that I need to, and I do, try to step back and go, okay, I feel that the balance is off. Mm-hmm. So if this was someone else's life, what would I go in and be like, honey, you need to change this ASAP or else you're going to go straight to burnout. Because I try and project. I try and think, okay, it's not necessarily me, but if I'd stumbled across someone and they were working late a little bit too many times, or they were a little bit worried about some personal troubles, well, what can we do to kind of get that balance back? And then how can I apply that back to myself? But I think it's one of those that I'm a very passionate person. I get very devoted to things. And so I can look up and the time has gone away with me. It has. And I think all these years later, I still don't say I completely get that balance, but I'm a little bit more mindful of how many times I step back to at least try to get that balance. Yeah. And I think that is one that's going to be a journey, and it's going to keep being a journey. But as long as I can keep that framework in mind, I reckon I'll be okay. But I've had times when that balance has been way off, and it's not taken me, it's taken someone else. And again, this is when your network becomes so important, because those community groups that I've formed, they're the ones that are talking to me and they're going, Kelsey, you can't do this. You're going to go straight to burnout. Like this is too much. You're in the office too late. Like those people are the ones that kind of called me out and sat me down. But now I'm trying to do that more for myself. And yeah, when I get that right, I'll let you know. But I can't say that I'm there just yet.
Super cool. Okay, well, kind of coming to our last question, we're just wondering, what does the future hold for Kelsey? Where do you see yourself going as you climb the golden corporate ladder?
Oh my gosh, that beautiful gold corporate ladder. To be honest, girls, I'm not entirely sure. I know I'm enjoying the journey. I know that I'm enjoying the skills that I'm learning. But when it comes to my career path and what I do, I think, especially when I first came out of uni, I was so one-dimensional in the fact that I want to get to here and I want to be doing this and I want to be managing people by this age and I want to do everything. But I think at this particular point in my life, it's a chance for me to just evaluate how I've done so far. And again, just think about what I love and what I do and keep that going. I think I've put too much emphasis in the past on being at a certain point in time, that now that I am in this particular role and loving what I do at this point in time, I don't want to kind of make that the be and end all again. I want to just make sure that I'm keeping that stream of, am I doing something that when it gets to Sunday, I don't go, oh. Like genuinely, that one question. If I'm there on a Sunday, and there's times when I'm like, okay, my Monday's packed, but at the same time, I'm still eager for something. I'm still eager for this project to kick off or this thing to land or this event to happen. So I'm like, okay, I get to Sunday and I don't feel fatigued about the week that's coming up. I feel excited, and I feel that keeps happening, no matter where I do or how high I climb or what else I'm doing, then I'm on track. If it becomes the case that I'm so pursuing that promotion or that moment that I no longer feel that way about my Sundays, then there's an issue. So I'm still trying to find that avenue when it comes to my career journey. But I feel like the journey's been pretty good so far. I've learned a lot about what I like and what I don't like and where I want to move to. That when it does get to that point, I will start mapping it out, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself to do that.
Love it. Enjoying the journey.
Yeah, I think that's the key, because I think sometimes we get quite fixated on the destination. So I just appreciate the fact that you're enjoying your journey. Like, that's really encouraging. Awesome. Okay,
this is great. This is amazing. I thought I was going to be in a hot seat. I was so worried. And some of those questions, I can't lie, I was flushed. I was like, okay. But this was really good.
We love the fact that you're able to kind of share your journey with us, and just kind of speaking your truth, being kind of open and really teaching the listeners about what it means to be kind of like Kelsey and your experiences. So yeah, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much to both of you for having me. I've honestly loved the experience. I've also loved the fact that it's got me to reflect and think a little bit about what I've done and how proud I am of me and my family for pushing me and everything, every person I've met in between. So yeah, I think it's just been good for that as well. Nice way to end the day.
Yay. And we know that the listeners are going to love everything they've heard. So where can they kind of find you online, find out more about you, and just keep up with you?
Oh, okay. Well, if you want my travel content, what I'm just doing in terms of my personal life, my Insta is the way to go. So Kelsey_Robb_KR. If you want to see a little bit about what I do at TikTok and my role and how that how that materializes in a bit more of a visual format, then check me out on TikTok, Kelsey_Robb, of course. But then if you want to connect and you want to talk about roles or you want to talk about TikTok, then I say LinkedIn is the way to go there, and it's just my name, Kelsey Robb, as well. So multiple avenues for you.
Yes.
Yeah, a true social media girl.
Honestly. Love it.
Cool. Well, we are so grateful to have had this time with you, and yeah, we just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye now.
Thanks for joining us today and listening to this episode of A Seat at the Tech Table. You can connect with us on our social media platforms. Just search @SistersInTech on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our website www.sistersin.tech to see what we've got going on. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, and we'll bring you the next episode soon.